there are already a number of documentaries out there about the Monday Night Wars. There are already books written about WCW. There's already a plethora of wrestling autobiographies out there. So where did you see a gap was in terms of the untold story that you wanted to tell?
I think there was I mean, if people have read the book, they'll see that there are many, many, many new elements that are introduced to the story as a result of the Nitro book coming out. I mean, even starting with the way that Nitro became a television program in the first place, right? We've all heard the story of Eric Bischoff having the meeting with Ted Turner and kind of blurting out that, hey, we need to go prime time with Vince. But there was a meeting before that meeting which has never been told. So that's just one example of something I think people don't know about. Of course, the way that the WCW sale ended up, there's always been a lot of ambiguity as it relates to that. How did the programs get cancelled? What was the motivation behind it? Who was making those decisions? What options did they have available to them at the time? What incentives were in place? And by consequence, how did those incentives inform their decision? And there's a tremendous amount of detail on aspects like that. And I think I found it rather curious over the years, although I did enjoy a lot of the documentaries and books that you talked about. I always found it quite curious that we never actually got to hear from some of these, I call them shadowy figures, that would often come up in these accounts, the Jamie Kellners of the world, the Harvey Schillers. We were always told that they were important power players and people who really had a lot to do with ultimately what happened to WCW. But we never really actually got to hear from these people. And so, in this book, On the Record, you get a chance to hear from their perspective what was going on. And so, I think the book really, the way that I see it, it's the story of this dysfunctional relationship between WCW and its parent company, Turner Broadcasting. It is a story about a wrestling company, but it's more so about how this wrestling company fit or didn't fit within the wider portfolio of this corporate behemoth, which was Turner. And I think a lot of the most interesting, most comedic, most thought-provoking content really comes from exploring that dynamic. So it's a very different book in all of those ways and more, I would say.